President, please be seated. The court is now in session. Today, the chamber continues to hear the remainder testimony of witness Sam Hearn and begin to hear testimony of another witness, that is through TCW 901. Ms. Jia Huang, please report the attendance of the parties and other individuals at today's proceedings. Grazie, Mr. President. For today's proceedings, all parties to this case are present, except the international lead co-lawyer for civil parties, who is absent without informing the chamber of the reason. Mr. Nunchi is present in the holding cell downstairs. He has waived his rights to be present in the courtroom, and the waiver has been delivered to the greffier. The witness who is to conclude his testimony today, that is Mr. Sam Hearn, is ready and present in the courtroom. We have a reserved witness, namely through TCW 901, who confirms to his best knowledge and ability he has no relationship by blood or by law to any of the two accused, that is Nunchi and Keo Sampon, or to any of the civil parties admitted in this case. The witness took an oath before the Iron Club Statue this morning. Thank you. President, thank you. The Chamber now decides on the request by Noon Chea. The Chamber has received a waiver from Noon Chea dated 23rd June 2015, which notes that due to his health, that is headache and backache, he cannot sit or concentrate for long, and in order to effectively participate in future hearings, he requests to waive his right to participate in and be present at 23rd June 2015 hearings. Having seen the medical report of Noon Chea by the duty doctor for the accused at ECCC dated 23rd June 2015, who notes that Noon Chea today has severe back pain and dizziness when he sits for long, and recommends that the chamber shall grant him his request so that he can follow the proceedings remotely from the holding cell downstairs. Based on the above information and pursuant to Rule 81.5 of the ECCC internal rules, the chamber grants Noon Chea his request to follow today's proceedings remotely from the holding cell downstairs via an audio-visual means. And the AV unit personnel are instructed to link the proceedings to the room downstairs so that Noon Chea can follow it. That applies for the whole day. The chamber now hands the floor to the defense team for Noon Chea to continue putting further questions to Sam Hearn. You may proceed, counsel.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning, Your Honors. Good morning, counsel. Before I start questioning the witness, Mr. President, I have a request in respect of the time allotted to the defense. We have two sessions, the two defense teams. However, would it be possible that we start, then break off, give the floor to the Keo Sampon team, and when they are finished, we could then use the remainder of the time? The problem is that the Keo Sampon defense team doesn't know exactly how much time it needs, and in order not to lose the total time allotted to the defense, we make this special request to be able to continue after they are finished.
President, the International Co-Prosecutor, you have the floor.
We have no objection. We think it could be helpful. There's some very interesting information from this witness to the determination of the truth, and see no reason not to be flexible in that regard.
President, that is up to the discussion of the defense teams, and you have used one session already, and you may need to consult among yourself for the remaining session, and we already have scheduled another witness for today and another one for this week, so that we can adhere to the schedule set forth. For that reason, no additional time will be given to the defense teams, but you may use the time pursuant to your agreement between the two teams.
Yes, we assure you that we will not go past the two sessions, but just that we can use it to the maximum of these two sessions. Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning, Mr. Witness. I would like to revisit a few things that you said yesterday when you talked about the rebellion or the mutiny, or whichever you would like to call it. Yesterday you talked about the shipment, the diversion of arms in order to attack Pochentong Airport. In your statement to DC Chem, you also mentioned plans for an attack on the radio station in Phnom Penh, and that this radio station was to be attacked by another battalion. Which radio station do you mean? Which radio station was supposed to be attacked by Division 310 forces?
The intention of the Division 310 at the time was to attack and take over the radio station at Steng Mien Chey.
Was that the main radio station of Democratic Cambodia?
At that time, the broadcast from the radio station was the official main broadcast of the Democratic Cambodia, and its broadcast extended to all provinces throughout the country.
Was it also the intention, in conjunction with the attack on Pochentong Airport and the radio station, to stage a coup d'etat against Democratic Cambodia?
Yes, that is correct. The intention was to occupy the radio station, and after that to take over the Pochentong Airport to stop any further flight in or out of Democratic Cambodia.
I understand, but was it also the intention to overthrow the government of Democratic Cambodia? In other words, to stage a coup d'etat?
That was the ultimate aim. That is to conduct a coup d'etat.
And who was supposed to take over positions in the government? Was that Khoi Toon?
did not have that detailed knowledge as to whom would replace the leadership of the Democratic Cambodia, as I was simply a combatant.
I understand. On English, page 30 of your DC Cam statement, ERN English 008765606, Khmer 00020588687, and French 00892654. You speak about Koitun, but in that same answer you give to the DCCAM interviewer, you also talk about Sao Pim. Do you know if Sao Pim was to have any role in the coup d'etat, rebellion, or uprising?
I did not have a grasp of that situation. Sao Pim at the time was in charge of the East Zone.
In your answer, I will read it to you. To DCCAM, you said Tatuk Koitun was also arrested as he had an association with Sao Pim. What do you mean when you say that Koitun had an association with Sao Pim?
What I meant was that they both were at the zone level, so they shared with each other any confidential materials, and that's my understanding of their relationship.
So am I to understand that the East Zone forces that you spoke about yesterday led by Sao Pim were to be used in the coup d'etat and the uprising?
The rebellion plan was that for the East Zone it would be led by Sao Pim, and the other zone was led by the respective leader, and they already prepared their force at the front and at the rear, and also they prepared the force at the center level in order to attack and take over Phnom Penh, while the forces from various zones would attack and take over the outskirts of the city.
Do you know whether the leader of the Northwest Zone, Runim, also played a role in this uprising, this coup d'etat?
No, I did not have that knowledge about that zone.
Do you know whether divisions 450 and 920 also had a role to play in the rebellion or coup d'etat?
I did not have any connection with these two divisions, and I did not know about their plan. whether they had any involvement in that uprising plan.
At one point in time, to the investigator of DC Chem, you speak about your brother Chess or Che. What was his role, if any, in the rebellion in the beginning of 1977?
I did not know his rank or position. I only met him when we were in Phnom Penh. And he stayed in his own unit. And I did not know the details about his position within that unit, whether he was simply a combatant or a cadre.
But do you know whether he had any role to play in the rebellion or coup d'etat?
He was linked to the plan as his superior was involved in the uprising. So after Uch, that is his superior, was arrested, he was implicated in the plan.
And who was Ut that you just mentioned? Or did you say Koitun Tuk?
No, I do not refer to Tuj. I refer to Uj, who was the regiment commander where my brother attached to, and Uj was arrested. As a result, my brother was implicated in that alleged treacherous network.
And what was the relation, if any, between Uch and Koitun?
I did not know about the relationship between the two, whether they had any contact or not.
Do you know whether there was any relation between your brother and Koitun?
No, he did not have any relationship with him. Since he was a combatant, he did not have the authority to contact that senior leader, although he was somehow a subordinate to him in the chain of command.
Now, in your DC Chem statement, English page 44, ERN 00876520, Khmer 000205998, and French 00892664. You said that the forces which were being built up by UN were called Khmer White forces. Do you know why UN referred to the rebellious forces as Khmer White?
I knew UN assigned some forces and considered them as Khmer White or Khmer Saw, in literally meant in Khmer. And the fourth aim was to overthrow the democratic Cambodia regime.
And when was the first time you heard this term Khmer Saw or Khmer White?
I first heard the phrase Khmer Saw or rather after 1977.
Do you mean after the arrest of Un, you heard the term Khmer Saw? Not before?
I heard the phrase Khmer Saw after the arrest of Un. I've heard that the Khmer Saw movement was alert to heat up the uprising.
And the East Zone forces that you spoke about yesterday, were they part of the Khmer Saw as well?
It was in the same movement initiated by the Khmer Saw force.
You've heard of the term after Un's arrest, the term Khmer White or Khmer Saw. Do you know when this movement was founded? The forces that were to take part in the rebellion. When did they first get together and call themselves White Khmer? Do you know?
Now I cannot recall as to when it was founded. I heard that Khmer Saw was formed in order to gather the forces to join the resistance to overthrow the democratic Cambodia regime, but I do not have the exact knowledge as when it was founded.
I understand, but are you able to say whether it was formed before the liberation on 17 April 75 or after?
The force was established after 1975.
A few months after 75, half a year after April 75, or a year later. Can you, without giving a specific date, give us an indication as to the formation of these armed forces?
The forces that were formed by the resistance movement of Khmer Saw were formed, but I did not know as to when it was formed or in which year. I only heard about that resistance movement. And as I said earlier, its aim was to overthrow the democratic Cambodia regime. And I heard that it was planned when I heard about it in late 1977.
Do you know whether... Let me step back. Do you know who Chan Chakrai was?
only heard of Chan Chakray's name, who was a division commander in the East Zone. Allow me to stress that I only heard of his name. I never saw his face, nor had I any relationship with him.
Do you know whether he was involved in the rebellion?
No. I do not know whether he was involved in the rebellion. Rebellion, as I said earlier, I did not have any contact with him, and I only heard of his name. I did not know his face. I knew that he was one of the divisional commanders in the East Zone.
Yesterday you testified that you had been fighting before 75 in Siem Reap, that you knew Siem Reap quite well. Do you know anything about events in Siem Reap in February 1976 involving bombs coming from fighter airplanes, causing damage and causing the killing of forces?
I only heard about that and I did not see it. In 1976, I was transferred to the North Zone, that is at Kampong Cham. So I did not know about that. I only heard that there was an aerial bombardment in Siem Reap province.
Have you heard any more details other than that there was an aerial bombardment in February 76 in Siem Reap? Have you heard some details about what happened in Siem Reap?
I did not know about the situation over there. I mean, I refer to the situation on the ground in Siem Reap.
Do you remember who the secretary was of District 106, to which Siem Reap belonged?
No, I did not. I was in the army and I did not have anything to do with that area.
Does the name Sot mean anything to you?
I recall that one of the main players, chiefs in Siem Reap named Sot, but I did not have any contact with him at all.
Have you ever heard whether he was supposed to play a role in the coup d'etat rebellion in early 1977?
Answer: I did not know about that. As I said, I did not make any contact with him. That is why I did not know about that. I heard of the name Sot.
Yesterday I asked you a question whether you knew when the attack on Pochentong Airport was supposed to take place and when a possible coup d'etat was supposed to take place. Do you remember an attack being planned on 17 April 1977, the 2-year celebration of the liberation in 75?
President, please wait. Mr. Witness, you may now proceed. International co-prosecutor.
And I think it would be more helpful to the truth to ask open questions to the witness rather than putting words in their mouth about a date. The witness could be asked what date he knows, according to the story that he's telling, what date this plan was supposed to take place.
I agree with the prosecution, but yesterday it was an open question. Today it's more closed also because I'm running out of time. Again, do you know anything about a possible date when both the coup d'etat and the attack on Pochentong Airport and the radio station was supposed to take place?
Answer. I did not recall the exact date, but I remember that the coup d'etat was planned to happen in 1977.
One last question on this before I turn the floor. I give the floor to the Q Sampan team. Yesterday you spoke about the diversion of weapons, truckloads full of weapons. Do you know whether part of the preparation for the rebellion and the coup d'etat was also the storage and the skimming, the taking away of rice in order to be able to feed all the combatants involved in this rebellion?
Answer. As for the soldiers who were in preparation for the rebellion, they did not take along any rice or unhatched rice. People at the area battlefield, they were ready in food supply, and as for those in the front line, they had to be ready for the rebellion.
Thank you, Mr. Witness. Mr. President, so I'm not finished yet. I have questions on Kampong Chnang and his role in the battlefield subsequently. So if it's all right with you, the Q Sampan team starts now, and then when they're done, we will continue again.
Good morning to the chamber and everyone. Good morning, Mr. Witness. My name is Arthur Verken. I am one of Mr. Kusampan's counsel. I have some questions to ask you about this episode. You say you have lived through about in the airport of Kampong Chnang and a supposed visit of Kusampan, who would have arrived by helicopter to visit the site. Yesterday, around 11 a.m., 20 minutes and 44 seconds, you said about Kusampan, and I quote, "I only saw him once. At that moment, I was going to work. We saw a helicopter that was about to land, and I was told that this was Kusampan, who was doing an inspection of the site, and this is all I know of his visit. I cannot add anything And so my question, Mr. Witness, is the following. Is it because you were told it was Kusampan that you say it again today? Or did you physically recognize him at the time of the events? Did you say it was Kusampan because you were told it was, or did you recognize him at the time?
Answer. I did not know him before, but on that day, I was asked to line up, and at that time I was told to wait, and I was told that Ta Kilsampon came to visit Kampong Chhnang airport. I did not go close to see him. I could see him from a far distance, and my peers and work colleagues told me that Ta Kilsampon came to visit the Kampong Chhnang airfield. Thank you.
Okay. To be clear, it was because you were told that you repeated today, but only because you were told and not because you recognized him. Is that correct?
Answer. Yes, that is correct. I was told by my colleagues.
Thank you. I will now move on to another topic. Could you tell us what your exact position or functions were in the Army on 17 April 1975? What was your role?
Answer. In 1975, I was the chief of a platoon, and in late 1975, I was removed because I was allegedly said that I had been affiliated with the treacherous network. I became an ordinary combatant or citizen in late 1975.
I had some difficulty as I was reading your statements and listening to you testify today and yesterday. I was trying to understand this accusation that you were supposedly part of a treacherous network, and you said that it was in 1975. Did that have anything to do with the coup d'etat attempt and working with UN to that effect?
Answer. I had been accused of being linked to the treacherous network to topple the democratic Cambodia.
I understand. But my question is, I'm trying to find out if that accusation against you started in 1975. Is that what you were telling us today?
Answer. It started from 1975 that I was accused of being linked to treacherous networks. And I was under that accusation from 1975 up to 1977.
Yesterday, I believe that you said in this court that these weapons that were transported with 36 men and 6 trucks had occurred a month before Eun's arrest. Did I understand correctly?
Answer. Yes, that is correct.
D'après les informations.
And according to the information that the court has, is that this arrest occurred in February 1977. And so the transport of weapons would have been around January 1977. In 1975, when you were suspected of being part of a treacherous network whose objective would be to topple the regime, what were the suspicions based on? Because indeed, the true event, the true rebellion that we are aware of, is the transport of weapons. And so which events occurred prior to that which could raise suspicions against you?
Answer. There was any suspicious sign against us, and as I stated, I transported weapons secretly without letting any other knows about that.
Did you transport weapons before January 77? This started in 1975?
Answer. Let me clarify. I transported the weapons from 1976 up to 1977. The plan was completed in 1977, and we did not. We were not instructed to transport any other weapons after 1977.
In 1975, how did you figure out that there were suspicions against you?
Answer. There was a suspicion at that time against me because at that time I noticed there were many actions against me, and if they found out that we hid some activities that we were doing, we would be suspicious by them.
Am I to understand that as of 1975, you were committing acts of rebellion, undercover or clandestine actions?
Answer: yes, that is correct.
Pouvez-vous
Can you tell us what you did? Can you give us examples of such acts of rebellions that you did as of 1975?
Answer: I could not give you a full description, but I could give you the summary of it. There was a plan at that time in 1975, and as I told the court already, killing took place from time to time. And because of this, there was a plan and rebellion against the regime. And there was a plan to heat up uprising and attack the Democratic Cambodia in order to overthrow the government of that regime. This is what I can tell you. I do not recall it all.
And so you were doing this as of 1975 with other people. Who are the others? You've given us some names. Can you tell us who you collaborated with at the time to encourage this rebellion to topple the regime?
Answer: I could not give a full description. As I told you, there was a plan at that time. There was a collaboration with other people. I could recall one name, Pon. He died in the period. He was killed in that regime, and I did not know where he was killed. I could recall only one name. And as I stated, I could not give you the full account of what happened at that time.
Est-ce que dès
As of 1975, did you hatch this plan with your division chief, Un?
Answer: yes, that is correct. Because he was the commander of the division, he had a plan and disseminated it to the battalions so that soldiers in battalions could rise up to overthrow and topple the Democratic Cambodia. Thank you.
When you transported weapons with these 36 men and 6 trucks, as you said, can you tell us where you transported them from and where you brought them? What was your itinerary?
Answer: could you repeat your question? I could not get it.
Bien sûr.
Well, certainly. The weapons that you transported Eun's request. And so you had 6 trucks, and you transported weapons. Can you tell the court where you brought them from and where to? Where did you drop them off?
Answer. I transported the weapons from the Division 310's office at Wat Phnom, and I had to bring them to Kampong Cham, to one village, which I could not give you the name. I transported those weapons to Kampong Cham, to one village, as I said. I did not know the location exactly, and I have forgotten its name already.
Thank you. Now this, Mr. Witness, means that in January 1977, your division still had access to weapons. Is that correct?
Answer. In 1975 and 1976, the weapons were withdrawn from a soldier and kept at the division warehouse.
And the weapons came from that warehouse. And it's from that warehouse that you loaded it into the trucks. Is that correct?
Answer. I took the weapons from Division 310's warehouse.
What was your role? What was your position at the time when you transported these weapons?
Answer. I did not hold any role or position at that time. My function at the time was to maintain confidentiality, and as I stated, I was an ordinary combatant, no specific role or duty or function.
What were you doing in January 1977 in Wat Phnom?
Answer. When I was at Wat Phnom, I had no any specific function. I was there to stand guard the radio station at Wat Phnom. I was just a rank and file soldier.
Alors, monsieur,
Perhaps there's a misunderstanding. To guard is a function, so your function at the time was to guard the radio station. Is that what you said?
Answer. In my unit, we were instructed to stand guard the radio station.
I assume that if you were standing guard, you were armed as well. Were you?
Answer: no, it's not correct. I was not armed at the time. As I stated, weapons were withdrawn and kept at the warehouse, but they deployed some soldiers to guard in specific locations. And as I stated, we had no weapons at the time while standing guard.
None of the soldiers that were standing guard with you were armed at all. Is that correct?
Answer: yes, that is correct. We had a bare hand, no weapons.
What would you have done if you had had to intervene, if had there been an attack on the station?
Answer: at the time, we were not given any weapons, and as I stated, when there was a plan, we were given weapons.
And so if I understand, at that time, for some missions you received weapons and then they were taken away from you. Is that correct?
Answer: yes, that is correct. During the time that we were assigned with any mission, we would be armed. But if we were there to stand guard the location that we received the assignment, we were not disarmed because there was a secret. There was the principle that the information should not be leaked to the outside.
Quelle information?
What information?
Answer: we had to keep the confidentiality, that is not to give us weapons during the time that we were standing guard. And we were not armed freely during the time that we were standing guard. Only when we received a specific mission, we would be given with weapons, and after the mission completed, weapons would be taken back.
Pouvez-vous donner un exemple?
Can you give us an example of the types of assignments in respect of which you were temporarily given weapons?
Let me give you an example. There was a permission for us to go to a specific area, for example, to Pujantong Airport, in order to observe the situation there. We were then handing down weapons for that particular mission. Then after we arrived at Pojintong to observe the situation, then the weapon will be provided only for that specific period, and usually the weapons were given only for the missions to be conducted at night time, not during the daytime.
Donc ça, monsieur.
So that was a secret mission, sir, and it had to do with your rebellious activities, the preparation of the coup d'etat. Is that correct?
Yes, what you said is correct.
Et mis à part des actions.
And apart from special assignments as part of the preparation of the coup d'etat, and these are secret missions, and did it happen that before January 1977 you were officially given weapons as part of your military activities?
Please repeat your question. I don't fully get it.
Vous venez de nous donner.
You have just given us an example of a secret assignment to carry out espionage at Pojintong Airport, for which you were given weapons to carry. And I'm asking you whether, as a member of the army, you were sent on official assignments during which you carried weapons to stand guard. Did you have other assignments during which you were authorized to carry weapons?
Allow me to clarify that we were not given any weapon, and that applied to all soldiers across the zones, including the East Zone or the North Zone. Although we were assigned to guard a particular area or station, we were without any weapon.
Je voudrais vous poser.
I would like to put a few quick questions to you on the security center. I see the time is 10 past 10. Perhaps it is appropriate for us to take the break now, Mr. President.
President, thank you, Council. It is now appropriate for a short break. We take a break now and resume at 10:30 to continue our proceedings. Court officer, please assist the witness during the break at the awaiting room for witnesses and experts, and invite him to return to the court room at 10:30. The court is now in recess.